Hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Welcome to week 3 of the Bill Neese's Coach Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare with Coach Bill Neese. Coach, Indians fall in a tight game on Friday night in Lyons, 17-14. A game really that had opportunities on both ways. Indians certainly had chances to win. When you look at the stats, very comparable. A tough game that we come out with a loss, but a lot to learn from.
Yeah, I think we did. I also think we did. I agree. We had a lot of opportunities, probably 2 or 3 distinct opportunities that we could have, in our minds, could have put the game away. I'm sure Lyman Senior probably thought the same thing a couple times with some of the miscues that we had. I think both teams played very hard. You know, the way it went down to literally the last play of the game, and special teams were the enemy of both teams, and special teams were the friend of both teams in both situations. So I think it was a very interesting game. We've learned a lot from the game, and hopefully we're going to improve quite a bit from it.
We talk about special teams, and when we hear special teams, I think people say, oh yeah, you practice special teams, and yeah, special teams is important, but a lot of people focus on the offense and the defense side of the ball. Truly in that game, as you said, it was kind and unkind on both ways, but really special teams is so important in your preparation for a game.
Oh, it was, and this game, unbelievable in the fact that, we had 2 field goal attempts that we didn't make. They dropped 2 punts. They returned a kickoff. They had a huge play on a kickoff brought back because, they had 2 blocks in the back. And then the thing comes down to literally the final play that we put 10 guys in the line of scrimmage. If we would have blocked that punt, that would have gone in the end zone and we would have won the football game. So there was at least 7 big, usually special teams is kind of a ho-hum, get the ball back, go back to where you are. This was special teams make or break on 7 specific occasions.
At one point in the game, and we're going to talk to Hudson Hall a little bit later, and he makes a huge play because we're down 17-7 with about 7.5, 8 minutes to go. It's them trying to take the ball and keep control of the ball, and he gets a huge interception that really gives us a huge lift, and we turn around the next play and get a touchdown out of it, and we get the ball back with 5 minutes to go and driving and have a chance to win.
I think so. That was, in our minds, we had the confidence level, everything was set. He made a huge play. He's one of our best defensive linemen at reading screens. And the screen had been a big play in the CJ game right before the half, and he wasn't in the game at the time. And then, thankfully, he was in the game this time, and he was able to flip back and make the screen. So all momentum was in our favor at that point. And we got to kick ourselves a little bit for not maintaining that momentum and putting the ball in the end zone.
So the Indians now move into out of conference play. Now we move into week 3, which for the first time we play in our first conference game, first MVL game. In this new league that we've talked about a little bit. But before we get into that, the transition of playing and now having to get ready for week 3, there's no time to sit around and feel bad for yourself because now we lose an extra day because we actually play games on Thursday. We'll talk about that a little bit. You had Saturday off and come back in Sunday to get after it and get ready for Stebbins.
Yeah, well, actually, we didn't have Saturday off. We brought, we came in and did our normal thing on Saturday, which is break down the film with the players and do some recovery, and then we had the JV and freshman game that we dealt with, and then the coaches were here most of the afternoon and into the evening watching film, and then we come back at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning. So we lost a little bit of time. I think more recovery that I'm concerned about than I'm more concerned with our players recovering than I am with our coaches having to prepare more over the weekend. Those guys are tough enough that they can do that, and we're not running when we're breaking down film. I think the big thing is get our players rested up. So when we came in Sunday, we didn't do our normal Monday. We didn't do a great deal of conditioning. It was more of a walkthrough, more of some mental stuff and scatter reports and things like that. And today's practice, which would have been a normal Tuesday practice, I think is kind of flowing pretty good. So I think we're into the flow of everything. The big thing is if we do, in fact, get to win and we do things the correct way, then we'll have an extra day next week to recover and to prepare. So at the other end of it, we'll reap the benefits from it next week, hopefully, in our week before we play Sydney.
I get this a lot. You and I have had this conversation as coach and athletic director. The Thursday night game, it's special because you get an opportunity to play on live TV, and you're the only game of the night, and everyone in the Miami Valley is watching you, so there is something special to that. But also on the back end of it, is it worth it? Because like you said, you really don't have a day off because you're bringing them in on Saturday watching film, and you come back in on Sunday. You're back everything up a day. What you hope for is get that win, so you have that Friday extra day you get on the back end.
Yeah, the amazing thing is when you win the game, and we've been fortunate enough to win every time we've played so far on Thursdays. When you win the game, the adrenaline the next day at school, and nobody's tired anymore. Everybody's ready to go, and so I think that's going to be the important part for us. We'll probably, I don't know that you can do this on a yearly basis. I think once, and then maybe lay off of it for a while and stuff, and you kind of look at it on a year-to-year thing. But I think this would be Thursday for a while now that we'll be happy with it.
Moving into actually the game itself, Stebbins, they're 1-1. It is the first Miami Valley League. It's the first Miami Valley League that Pickle's been in since 1974. Moreover than that, it's a game that really gets us back into the swing of things and gets us a chance to they all count, but this one counts for league standings. And
it's it's interesting because our players don't know a whole lot about Stebbins. And some of the teams from the other side we've crossed over before. We've crossed over against Xenia quite a bit. We've crossed over against West Carrollton quite a bit. But Xenia is not Stebbins is not somebody that we've crossed over. I know they play them in basketball, but we haven't seen a whole lot of them. So when we watch film, it's important for our players to see the stadium, to see what that looks like, to see the different things in those lines. So it's all new stuff everywhere around. So the first Monday meeting we had, which was actually Sunday morning, we had to introduce everybody to who Stebbins High School is, where they're at. Yes, they are Indians also, and go from there.
The Indians, as they are, Stebbins, they're 1-1 coming into this game. Talk a little bit about what we can expect to see from Stebbins, because as you said, they're new to the Indian Nation. We don't even have a history of what they potentially have looked like in the past. So what can we expect to see from them Friday night at their place?
Well, they went through a spell where they hadn't done very well, and then they got a new coaching staff came in, and the new coaching staff replaced the guys from Xenia, and they have slowly built that thing back up, and now they've got a ton of players out. At one point, they had 27 kids out for football on the team. They finished, I think, last year with 27 people. This year they dress almost 70. They're strong. They're big. They really play well together. They've got like everybody else, we're trying to develop that culture, that together type attitude. And I think that the coaching staff over there has done a very nice job with that. We have ran against them a couple times in passing scrimmages in the past. And now we play them in person. It's a spread type offense with an H-back. They play a 4-3 defense. So a lot of the plays that we've seen them run offensively, we've seen from CJ, a lot of CJ H-back flavor. We see some from Springboro, some from Northmont, and then defensively they play a 4-3, which is again a little bit of combination of what we just saw last week at Lyons Senior.
But they also are their own team. I'm just watching a little film with Coach Bargy the other day. Sometimes they run stuff. There's no real necessary rhyme or reason for what they do, and so there's some new things and nuances that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, there's always those one or two things that you haven't seen that you got to prepare for. Also, there's probably that one or two things that the coaches sat around and somebody's always got that bright idea that says, hey, let's put this in or something, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You got to be ready for it.
Well, Pickle will take on Stebbins at Stebbins High School again Thursday night light, 7 p.m. at the local NBC affiliate. Coach, real quick, what are some of the keys of the victory for the Indians, what we've got to do going in on the road again back-to-back weeks?
I think number one, if you ask anybody, the first thing we got to do, the number one thing we got to do is we have got to finish our drives on offense. We have got better every week offensively, and we've got to get those drives completed where the ball's in the end zone. Okay, I think that's number one. Number two, we've got to continue to do well in special teams and eliminate our mistakes. And that was one of the big emphasis this past weekend, is looking at the film, sitting down and saying, okay, this is where you need to be. We we're a team that puts a lot of underclassmen in on our special teams. So we've got a lot of sophomores and a lot of juniors that do not start for us, and we'd like to try to get those guys in there because, you know, they're fresh, they like to run and they do stuff, but they also tend to make mistakes sometimes. So I think we've got to correct those, and I think those are the two big things.
Yeah, Coach, no question, when you look at our starting lineup, you see a lot of sophomores and juniors out there. As you said, that tends for a lot of energy. You also some inexperience, and they're learning as they go. But that we really, truly have gotten better. And even the Lyman game, as the night went on, we made some mistakes, but we got better and improved as the night went on.
I think we did. I think our coaches did a nice job of exploiting some of the things that we thought we could do. And, you know, you're still overall, we're trying to be more multiple on defense. We're trying to run, you know, a couple more things defensively with some 4 defensive back looks, some 3 DB looks. And the good thing about a lot of the guys that are the younger guys is, you know, they make some mistakes, but it's always in the heat of the moment. When you actually sit down with them and reason things out, they're really quick learners. And so I think that's going to be a big help for us.
Well, let's talk about one of those sophomores, as they'll be featured in part 2 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show, Caleb Lyons. And Caleb is certainly one of the defensive and offensive threats on our line. A little bit about his transition, moving right in from freshman football to varsity football as a starter. There's a lot of responsibility that goes with that, not just the playing, but understand scouting reports and film and all the details that go into to that matter.
Well, it is, you know, and I always have a meeting with the sophomores right when the winter starts, and I let them know. I say, hey, listen, you know, you guys have come off a great season, and you know, you get in the weight room. Some of you guys can be, you know, people that we're going to count on. But I said the biggest thing you guys got to understand is you've got to get in that weight room, and you've got to get yourself ready to go, because you got 9 months for the first time in your life you're going to play football against somebody 3 years older than you. Everything else is first grade team, second grade team, third grade team, and everything's cool. And all of a sudden, you find yourself, if you're fortunate enough to play, you find yourself in against somebody that's 18 years old that might be a 3-year starter, that might be going to Penn State, that this, and so you got to be ready to go. And Caleb's one of those guys that, number one, embraced it, but more importantly, also understands that after our first scrimmage, he looked at me and he said, "Whoa, this goes fast." You know, and it's just a lot of bodies. It's just a lot of people. And because he understands it, I think he's done a better job of improving every week. Last week was his best game at Lima Senior. He also gives us a dimension at tight end. He's a great blocker, and we've had him backing up different people. Now that we're solid on our offensive line, we asked him to change his number, more than happy to, and now he's giving us some quality reps at tight end to help out Austin Burns in some of our 2 tight end sets.
Well, one thing about Caleb I've always felt with him is he's got a good football mind. He understands the game and understands the details of the game. Of course, his dad played and was a football coach, so he's been around it a long time. That certainly helps. So you got a guy that's walking in that when you're showing him film and you're throwing him some terminology, he's picking that up right away.
Oh yeah, you know, it's always great to have your dad as a former great offensive lineman here at Piqua, and he was a coach also at Trotwood Madison. So yeah, he's getting a ton of information.
Well, as we move into the second person that we're meeting with is Hudson Hall, and Hudson transfer from Bell Fountain, wanted to come back and finish his career where he started. He played with a lot of these guys when they were younger, and so he is back, and we're glad to have him back. But what's it been like for him to have him in your locker room?
Well, he's kind of a quiet leader. I think he works really hard at it. He's one of the few people. He probably plays more snaps than anybody on Friday night, and we're trying to get some more depth to help him out a little bit. And we found Friday night that if we changed a little bit of our scheme on defense, we could get him some rest. And I thought his play totally elevated. I think he did a great job of elevating his play. You know, it's kind of interesting that this past year during the winter, the only question mark we had is we didn't really have anybody that was going to step in and play center. We had a ton of guards and tackles coming back on the offensive line. We had tight ends. Didn't have that guy that's ever snapped the ball with any type of experience. All of a sudden, you know, you contact me and say, "Hey, we got a transfer," and I find out the transfer is a center. Started at Bell Fountain at center, and I'm like, okay, this is a good sign. So it's worked out great.
Well, he's been certainly just watching it from a leadership perspective, as you mentioned, good. But he also has been through the wars before playing varsity, been through some great games, been through competition, understands that, and I think guys follow him, and they're gonna see what he's doing, and they're gonna follow his lead.
Yeah, good work ethic. Good work ethic. Since he's arrived, he's not missed a day. You know, he's one of those guys, first one here, weight room, meetings, you know, whatever the case may be. Good football mind too. So those two guys, those two guys will give you a good interview. They're both very gifted players and what they know.
We're certainly looking forward to it. And Coach, looking forward to Thursday night as we have the opportunity to play live on Thursday Night Lights in WKEF's NBC sister affiliate station. Coach, we certainly wish you guys luck as we look to move into the MVL and get our first win.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We will be back for part 2. We will meet with Hudson and Caleb of the Bill Nieces Coaches Show. Welcome to the second half of the Bill Nieces Coaches Show. With me are very couple important guys who play our line positions. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'm going to let them tell you their name, position, and class.
Hudson Hall. I play defensive end and center, senior.
My name is Caleb Lyons. I play defensive tackle. I'm a sophomore.
Hudson, let's talk a little bit about, just quickly about the year. Right now, the Indians are in 0-2. Very tough game and close game on Friday night at Lima. Had chances to pull that win out. As we move forward and move into now conference play, what's our mindset as we move forward? And we've got to believe that even though we haven't got a win yet, we are very close and we've got a good season embarking upon us.
Yeah, I think we played some really good teams the first couple of weeks, and I think Stebbins is a great opportunity for us to kind of get things rolling, as like we can just play a team that's not as good as what we've played and kind of just show what we've got.
Caleb, here we are. We're going to talk a little bit about your story and just, you know, playing varsity, but you're going to have the opportunity for your first 2. You're going to make your first television debut on Thursday Night Lights here. It will be the game of the week for the local WKEF NBC channel. For you, you understand as a leader, as a sophomore, as a starter, where do you believe this team is now, and where are we going to be down the road?
I believe right now where we're at, we're in a good spot, but we still have a lot of things we have to compete, especially defensively and offensively on special teams, all sides of the ball. We got stuff we got to fix, and but there's a lot of wins ahead of us for us, I think.
Well, no better time to do it than on Thursday night on television, live television for everyone to see. How exciting is that for you to be in this opportunity to be showcased, not just individually, but as a team on the game of the week?
I mean, it's really exciting because, like, I remember when I was a kid just going out there and watching those guys that could play on TV and play on Friday nights and all that, so it's just a great experience.
Hudson, we are now moving into conference play. You know, Caleb, this is really his first conference, you know, game, but you're coming in. You've been through these before. What's it like from an experience perspective, knowing that these games now count? Not that the first 2 didn't count, but now they really do count for league standings.
Yeah, I mean, just winning those games that you need to win week in and week out, it's just really important to get those conference games.
Well, I'm going to turn the page here, and we're going to turn this to a little bit of a personal thing. The two of you, while you got a senior and a sophomore, the two of you are actually childhood friends.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time together when you were little bitty Caleb and little bitty Hudson.
Yep.
Right? But the story changes a little bit because you leave to go to Bell Fountain. Dad takes the superintendent's position there. And you came back because you want to spend time and you want to spend your senior year with guys like Caleb. You want to come home and you want to have the opportunity to play and be as a Piqua Indian. And so you move back to Piqua. What's that experience been like for you to come back home?
It's awesome. It's in your blood, that's for sure. It's
brothers played.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Just kind of it's an honor to put on the Piqua uniform. So it's like I always wanted that. Seeing as kind of what Caleb said. It's you see those guys run out on the field, and it's just I wanted to experience that for myself. So it's a really cool experience.
What's it like to play with Caleb? Again, you look at, you guys were young and you guys used to run around and raise a little canine, and now you're raising canine out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I got him right to my left on the defensive line. He's the biggest dude out there, so it's kind of helps, and it's awesome.
Let's have like Hudson back.
Yeah, it's great, because like we used to run around in his backyard with Ohio State jerseys on, acting like we were Brandon Sane and Tristan Cox and all them guys. So it's great.
And now guys are emulating you. They see you out there, and I'd be remiss if I did not mention the big interception you had on Friday night. Puts us right back into the game. What was that? What was that? First of all, what was that? Can you walk us through that play again and remember how everything dialed down?
Yeah, I mean, it happened so fast. It's just kind of, we've been working all summer, reading the screen. So I read the screen, dropped back, and the ball was right there, and caught it, and I was just like, all right, what do I do now? I got to run. So it's kind of, it was awesome though.
Gives our team a chance to get back in. In fact, the very next play, we get a touchdown pass from Blaine Newell to Garrett Shrub, and we're right back in and actually have the ball with 5 minutes to go. And again, chances to win. This team has just got to find ways to close it out, and certainly Thursday night, as you mentioned, gives us a good chance to do that. Real quick for you, what has been a highlight, as you talked about putting the Pickle uniform on, but what's been a highlight so far in the season for you and being a part of this program?
The first time week one running out onto the field was it was surreal. It was just looking up in the stands, seeing all the people here, running through the tunnel. It was awesome.
Raised the hair on your arm, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about Caleb for a minute. We talked about running in the backyard, and I can remember you coming actually to a Thursday night light game a couple years ago at Sydney. I remember you walked in with your dad. Now you're getting to play in it. What's the whole experience been like for you, transitioning in from essentially going right from freshman football and right into varsity and being a starter and a guy that they really count on?
Well, it was a big wake-up call, because like being on the freshman team is a little different because you're bigger. You're bigger than everybody else, so you can really do whatever you want. It'll work. And then you go up against a guy like Riley Hill, on a daily basis, and he really shows you that this isn't freshman football no more. You got to actually be good at what you're doing if you want to get anywhere.
Well, the one thing about the line, guys, is we talk about there's so many things people you're just blocking, but there's so many details and fundamentals, to blocking and knowing where to block. There's so many pieces to watching film and breaking down your scouting reports, knowing where to go and what you're facing up against the line. How much has that been for you? Because you didn't really have that kind of scouting report before this year.
No, yeah, it took a lot of changing because I had to learn how to read a scouting report, learn how to sit down and actually watch film besides just going home from practice and just eating. And now I have to actually do stuff when I get home besides homework, obviously, but watch a little film and that kind of stuff.
Breaking it down.
Yeah.
Okay. Hunter, Hudson, you're now a senior. What's it like now knowing football at some point we know is going to end? What though is your goal for next year? Is you interested in playing college, or are you thinking about going to college? What are some things that have kind of been settling in your mind?
I really haven't decided yet. I don't know if I'm going to play football or go to college, what I'm really going to do after. So.
Well, I know a lot of things go through your mind when you're a senior. You're trying to figure out how things are. I know we're taking it one day at a time, getting through this football season. I know will be a big, probably step one. Once you get through that, though, I think you have a lot of options for you. You're an intelligent young man, and I have no doubt you'll make it your way in this world.
Thank you.
Guys, we certainly wish you well this week as we go into Thursday night. I should ask, because I talked about with Coach, I need to ask you guys. So you play on Thursday night, you back everything up a day. So today's Monday, we're taping this on Monday. It's actually Tuesday in your world because you came in and practiced on Sunday. What was that? What's it like now? You're kind of thrown off a day. You haven't gotten to Thursday, so you don't know that part of it yet. But is it strange with the routine off a little bit this week?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we were up early Sunday morning. Didn't get that normal Sunday recovery day. So, I mean, we're just right back at it. We're going, and we haven't missed a step. So.
Caleb?
Yeah, the coaches do a really good job making sure we don't get behind or anything, because had that day on Sunday, and they were like, hey, you don't get that recovery, but you just got to power through it mentally because it's all mental once you get in the season. Getting tired, it's all mental.
Well, it will be physical on Thursday night when Hudson and Caleb bring it to Stebbins High School for Thursday night football, Thursday night lights. You can catch it on the NBC affiliate in Dayton. Kickoff will be at 7 p.m. For Hudson and Caleb, I'm your host, Chip Hare. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the Bill Neese's Coaches Show.